Hi guys, we are going to see today about the structure and functions of blood vessels. This is Daneshwarya Jennifer, Assistant Professor of Biomedical Department from Rohini College of Engineering and Technology. The main thing we are going to see is structure and functions of your blood vessels. Here, what is meant by blood? Blood is a carrier which carries the oxygenation and deoxygenated blood. That means oxygen and CO2, and it supplies the nutrients to all the vessels, all the body parts which needs that, and it travels to the whole body, and it maintains a health to the whole body, which is done mainly with the help of this blood. The blood is carried through three main streams, that is artery, veins and capillaries. Here arteries and veins transport the blood into two distinct circuits, that is the systematic circuit and the pulmonary circuit. And the systematic arteries provides a blood rich in oxygen to the body tissues. Here, the blood returned to the heart through systematic veins has less oxygen, since much of the oxygen carried by the arteries have to be delivered to the cells. So it gives the oxygen to the other cells, and it has only limited amount of oxygen, but it has a CO2 content will be greater. In contrast, in the pulmonary circuit, arteries carry blood low in oxygen exclusively to the lungs for gas exchange. Here, the exchange of O2 and CO2 will be done in your lungs. The pulmonary vein, which is the only vein which carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart, which is pumped back into a systematic circulation. That is through our aorta, it will be supplied to the whole body organ. Although the arteries and veins differ structurally and functionally, they share each features. This is our diagram which represents the circulation process, which is divided into two, that is pulmonary circulation and systematic circulation. Here the systematic circulation involves by the heart, and mainly the vena cava, which carries blood from the lower part of our body, and the supplies blood to the whole part of the body, which is done by our aorta. So here the pulmonary circulation is done in lungs. Here the inside the lungs we will have the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs. So especially in the pulmonary artery, it is the only artery which carries the deoxygenated blood. That means the content of a CO2 will be higher than the oxygen. But in the pulmonary vein, it has a higher amount of oxygenated blood than the carbon dioxide blood. So it's supplied back to the body to supply it to the whole parts of the body. This is our systematic circulation diagram. Next is about the artery and veins structures. So artery, it has three different parts, that is a tunica externa, tunica media and tunica intima. Here the size of it varies. The tunica externa will be very less, the tunica media will be higher, and tunica intima will be somewhat okay. But in veins, when we are consider this and this one, compare this to, the outer vessel of the vein is very thick than the inner one is it is in a medium structure, and in a tunica intima in the last. And this is the comparison of a tunica in arteries and veins. Here the general appearance of that arteries, how it will be, the tunica intima will be, and tunica media and tunica externa. Here the arteries carries a thick walls with small lumens, generally appears rounded, and here in veins, the general appearance will be very thin walls with large lumens, generally appear flattened. And tunica intima, it is an endothelium, usually appears wavy due to the constraint of a smooth muscle internal elastic membrane present in the large vessels. But in the veins, the endothelium appears smooth, internal elastic membrane is absent. Tunica media for the arteries, it is normally thicker in arteries, smooth muscle cells and the elastic fibers is very predominant, but in here it is normally thinner than the tunica externa. Smooth muscles and collagen fibers are present and the external elastic membrane is absent. Here the external elastic membrane is present for the arteries and for veins it is absent. Like that, it is for tunica intima. The tunica intima is composed of epithelial and connective tissue layers. The lining of the tunica intima is a specialized simple squamous epithelium which is called as the endothelium. Endothelium means the outermost layer of the skin. So which is continuous throughout the entire vascular system including the linings of the chambers of the heart. So when there is any damage to the endothelial lining, the exposure of a blood to the collagen fibers beneath is one of the primary cause of a blood clot formation. So when the endothelial lining is pierced out, then the blood clot starts. Until that endothelium was viewed simply as a boundary between the blood in the lumen and the walls of the vessels. Tunica media. It is a substantial middle layer of the vessel. Here it's normally thickest layer in arteries and much thicker in arteries than in the veins. The tunica media consists of layers of smooth muscles supported by connective tissues that is primarily made up of elastic fibers, most of which are arranged in circular sheets. Toward the outer portion of the tunica, there is also a layer called a longitudinal muscle. So the contraction and relaxation of the circular muscles decreases and increases the diameter of the vessel lumen respectively. This is tunica externa. Here tunica externa is a substantial sheet of connective tissues which is composed primarily of collagen fibers. Some bands of elastic fibers are found here as well. The tunica externa in veins also contains a group of smooth muscle fibers. So when you are having a normal thick tunic in veins and maybe thinner than the other arteries. Now we can see about the artery. Yeah, the arteries is differentiated into three different types. That is elastic artery, and upcoming we are having a muscle artery and arterioles. Okay, so elastic artery here an artery is a blood vessel that conducts the blood away from the heart. That is, the artery will be mainly carries the oxygenated blood, so it will be supplied oxygen to throughout the body. So here all the arteries have relatively thick walls that can withstand and high pressure of a blood ejected from the heart. However, those close to the heart have the thickest wall containing a high percentage of elastic fibers in all three of these tunicas. So this type of artery is known as an elastic artery. So the vessels will be larger than 10 mm in diameter or especially elastic. This is the diagrammatic structure, elastic artery, which is very much the tunica externa is very thin, than the tunica media is higher. But in a muscular artery, the tunica externa is in a medium structure, and in media also it has been reduced, and tunica intima is same as that of mostly is it is the same as that of the elastic artery. Arteriole means the tunica media is highly larger than the tunica externa and tunica intima also higher. So second one is a muscular artery. Here it is the farthest from the heart. That is, it travels higher outer towards the not towards the heart. It is farthest from the heart. Where the surge of blood has damped, the percentage of elastic fibers in an artery tunica intima decreases and the amount of smooth muscles in its tunica media increases. So when in the arteria, the point at which then it is called as a muscular artery. The diameter of muscular arteries typically ranges from 0.1 mm to 10 mm. Next, arterioles. So an arteriole is a very simple, small artery that leads to a capillary. So the arterioles has a small three tunicas as the largest vessel, but the thickness of each is greatly diminished. So the critical endothelial lining of the tunica endema is intact. The tunica media is restricted to one or two smooth muscle cell layers in the thickness. The tunica externa remains, but it is very thin. So it will be present at the ends of the capillaries like that. It is called as a arterioles. That's all about our topic. Thank you guys. Thank you.